what I'd like to do today is give you an update on NEAR, where we're at, what we do. I think, like many of you, we are here because we believe in the open web and actually building a better web, which again seems very fitting, and in the context of history where we're here, seems definitely the right place to do that. So by the way, thank you so much for the organizers for having NEAR as a partner. We're very proud to be also participating to the effort of funding the Commons. For those of you who know or might not know, but NEAR actually has an interesting history, and I think, especially in technology and at the speed at which things go, it's always interesting to take a step back and think about history and where things come from and why they were set up. And so the history in NEAR is actually rooted in AI. And Ilya and Alex, who are the co-founders of NEAR, first started one with the name NEAR because singularity is NEAR is what inspired the naming of the project, but two, thinking that imagine if you could have a program to which you could ask to actually create any program or any website that you actually wanted and needed. That was the original idea. And to do that, they had actually freelancers across the world to help them on that mission. And the idea was to pay those freelancers with the technology that they had heard about, which was blockchain. But in doing so, what they realized was actually that it was not as fast as it could be, not as usable as it could be, and not as cheap as it could be. And so they pivoted. And they pivoted into what is mostly NEAR known for, which is a layer one proof of stake. And so they created that with at the core and the heart of everything that was done, thinking through simplicity. Because ultimately, to get to mainstream or mass adoption, however you want to call it, simplicity is what is first and foremost needed so that open access can truly be created. And so simplicity has always been the thing that has been prioritized for NEAR, from simplicity for developers on how to actually build, but also simplicity for end users to actually start participating. Of course, security, scalability, fundamental parameters in building any layer one, and sustainability, also a core value that has been set from thinking through, of course, the impact of what the technology consumes, but also thinking through when things are done, can they be done in a self-sustainable manner so that actually this is for long term and this is for actually sustainable changes. So started as AI, moved into a layer one, and recently we've continued our evolution, which in a way feels like a full circle. But because of the different components actually that NEAR and the NEAR ecosystem have been building over the last few years, we are now entering what we call a blockchain operating system. And so more than ever, this actually further gathers different ecosystems, and it's not just about NEAR and such ecosystem versus other ecosystem. This is much more about actually being together able to actually contribute to create the open web that we all are envisioning. And so what does this open web mean through a blockchain operating system? So there is different components that can be actually accessed and chosen, but the way we actually structure it or picture it is thinking through underneath it, any blockchain can actually sit, and therefore this multi-chain ability and functionality. You have middleware, and then you have front end. FastOS is something that we've actually been talking about a lot recently, which is like the easiest onboarding, probably in Web 2, full stop, but actually obviously also for Web 3. Back again to this core principle of simplicity and usability. So the open web is really what guides our vision and our mission, and this is actually obviously bigger than just a sub-ecosystem, and it is the mission for which each and every one of us at NEAR are striving for. The way we do that is thinking through, well, what actually are the different use cases that need to be brought through, and what is it actually that we can contribute to in working with different partners, whether they're actually commercial partners or whether they're actually smaller sub-projects. Recently, part of that journey, what we've done, and I encourage those of you in particular who I would say are developers, to go on near.org, we've actually taken the bet to change our website from a very layman website into something that is completely on-chain, where developers can actually participate and fork widgets and basically start playing with this unique ability to be together building the open web. Now, when it comes to decentralization, And here again, I think to a crowd of people who are probably convinced, but when it comes to decentralization, it is much more than a tool. It is actually a fundamental belief that openness, inclusiveness, participation, but also censorship resistance come from the ability to be decentralized. From the get-go, the NEAR ecosystem has been very decentralized, which at times can be chaotic to navigate when you're coming fresh at it. But actually, we deeply believe that this is the way forward. And so the next few minutes, what I wanted to share with you is more like when we think of decentralized web, what are the things that actually are front of mind for us right now in further decentralizing actually the NEAR ecosystem and where things go. And there are three core things that we are really hammering on in particular at the moment to continue on our journey on that. A first pillar is through research and development. And while at the beginning of the creation of an ecosystem, obviously R&D is very often a subgroup of people that know each other really well, but also have like the same common language, over time opening that up becomes absolutely paramount. But not only that, it's not about only R&D, but it's also about opening up contribution for entrepreneurs and creators who might also want to be actually creating the next project using different building blocks. And the last bit is community and governance, which actually takes also a very important place. So those are the three necessary components, but also the three pillars that we think collectively at NEAR of funding goods and therefore things that are fundamental to help decentralizing further the ecosystem. So R&D, one core example here, and I think some of the team members will be here and will talk later today, so I highly encourage you to go and meet them. But a Dev Hub is actually our collective effort to have more openness into how, as a developer, you can contribute to building for the NEAR ecosystem. It's fully built on actually near.org, which, as I mentioned, is fully on chain, and has basically a lot of different working groups which are very active in taking different paths and ways to further help the ecosystem. So education, building further the protocol, continuing to upgrade contract standards, but also zero knowledge proof are things that are front mind for that group. The amount of actually transparency, but also collaboration and visibility in building that is absolutely phenomenal. I think one ethos or so that I think is extremely important here has been, I would say, a shift from what we've really seen all of us in the bull market. It's rather than having actually to incentivize people in the hope that they will contribute to something, but focusing on actually high engagement, high quality, and basically rewarding for great output, but not necessarily having to pay for attracting people. And so the ethos of that is really to build a super strong, very engaged, high quality community of builders focused on R&D and developing core components. So R&D, first pillar. In terms of entrepreneurship and contribution, one thing, and that's been a learning for the NEAR ecosystem, and I think it's been the same for a lot of ecosystems through, again, the bull market. There is a concept of grants, and yes, you can do milestones, but actually success is very far away from just providing capital. Success is actually in hand-holding. Success is actually in enabling people to have the right access to the right knowledge and to be able to actually move forward. And so what we've actually started creating is what we call NEAR Horizon, which is first and foremost a tool. So it's a product that helps actually gather founders, contributors, and backers that can come all together, again, on-chain and in a very visible and open manner to find the right resources that they need. So if you're a founder, actually what you might need is to hire ecosystem experts or just experts, but you might not need them full-time. And so we're starting to enter more and more fractional work, which I think also I would think of decentralization is a very important trend. You might want to actually either test your product test it, or have security audits reviewed. You might need actually to find your first adopters. You might need to actually have some first backers review. You might want to participate in an accelerator. And so we participate with a lot of backers and accelerators to basically help through that process. As contributors, you can also put yourself forward and basically be a fractional CFO or legal person or marketer or whatever that is. And of course, for backers, the value proposition here in actually seeing firsthand very early project, very important. that we have found, and we continue finding, that opening up that, and again, not just necessarily to a specific ecosystem, but opening that up is something that is very powerful to create more decentralization, actually better collaboration. Here again, lots of different resources that can be found, but in particular, openness to access to not just technical documentation, but teaching and skill sets that can be learned, very important. So yeah, if you're a founder or creator, I encourage you to check that out. And the last part is community and governance. It's been actually heartwarming to see a year ago, Ilya put forward a proposal for how an ecosystem could be further decentralized and figure out human governance, but on-chain. And that was an idea. And actually, that idea has been taken on by the community and evolved as it's actually starting continually fostering. But basically, a group of community members got together and set themselves to actually set up the largest human Web3 collective to basically build decentralized governance on the blockchain operating system to help support this decentralization and this continuous sustainability through it. And so today, it's actually a lot of different nodes and groups, but again, setting back into, I think, the historical context we are in. Of course, there is a constitution that has been written, there are core principles and there are values that are written, and there is actually a thought process of what does it mean to actually nominate yourself, be elected, what does it mean to actually allocate capital, and so on and so forth. So tremendous progress have been made by that group coming together. And the idea here is right now there is actually a trust and a quite substantial treasury that has been set, that is fully owned by the community, that is voted upon, that actually then can be fostered either for developers or for marketing initiatives or for creative initiatives. The group has also started to set what is soul-bound token, and so this idea of you have to be a human to be basically able to vote, and you have to be participating and contributing and having basically the right the right motivations from wanting to be nominated in one of the committee are also things that are driving the NDC. So that's again things that in at least the near ecosystem were not necessarily fully coded, but the direction, and I think you can see that from the theme of what I've been mentioning, but the direction that we are taking is collectively what are actually the tools that we can leverage to make things transparent, fully on-chain, and actually open and accessible to all. And I will close with maybe some further thoughts, just again on how we approach more philosophically or more from an ethos perspective, thinking about diversity and inclusion. But the idea of simplicity is absolutely fundamental if collectively we believe that we want to bring millions and billions of users actually in the open web, which, let's face it, is the only way they will succeed. Making things simple, but also open and accessible, enabling people to participate from whatever region they are, from whatever actually background they have, becomes absolutely fundamental. And so being able to do that, having tools such as, for example, dev hubs, having tools such as Horizon, and having an open participation so that the Near Digital Collective, we believe are the things that actually can contribute to help create the open web and the decentralized web. And with that, thank you very much.